How is it going, guys? It's Nutshell here, and today we are so close to being able to reach over 1 billion rubles total in the stash value, and of course I'm going to do that live on this particular video to showcase some of the things that I did in order to make money in Tarkov PVE mode. And of course this is going to showcase some of the methods that you can use. We'll link a ton of guides which cover a variety of different methods that you can use to make money if you're not interested in some of the things that we're going to do today. So at least there's something for everyone within this video. If that sounds good, then make sure that you subscribe, because I'm sure we'll find even better ways of making money, as well as actually be able to complete a variety of different tasks and doing weird stuff on Tarkov, like using PPSHs and a variety of different weapons. That is always a good fun. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you do like the video as well, and let me know what you would actually like me to do in future videos as well, because we'll be live on Twitch as well as YouTube, doing a variety of different content that you guys choose for me to actually do, running weird weapon builds. So if you have anything like that, make sure to comment down below, and I'll use that in a video coming up soon. So with that being said, of course, we are at 997 million rubles in our stash. That's the stash value. I'm sure if we were to break down the cost of some of the items, like the thick items cases that we actually do have, because we've got a ton of them. There's 5 thick item cases right there, alongside, another 5 thick items cases. So we got 10 thick items cases, which if you actually want to do the barter trade for right now are about 40 million each, which is just disgustingly priced. So that in itself is about 400 million right there, alongside some thick weapons cases, that sort of thing, and another thick items case right there, plus a load of gear, loot, that sort of thing. But if we're looking at it from a standpoint of the stash value and how much we've actually made, we're very, very close. But how can I make 3 million within this the scope of this video? Well, there's one thing that I've been doing almost every time that I possibly can, maybe less so now because I've got so much money that it really doesn't need to be done, but that is utilizing the traders. Now, with traders themselves, there is a variety of different barter trades. We've talked about it in previous videos, and I can link some of the things that we're going to do and how you can do it as well to make money. Now, the first one, and probably the best one you could possibly do, is taking advantage of the sick case. Now, everybody has to get a sick case at some point on the game, and they're sitting at around 4.5 million right now if you want to purchase them off the fleet. But as you see, both of them have gone. And that means that if you can set your price at a reasonable price, I'm not talking setting it as like 20 million for a sick case, or a sick pouch, whatever you want to call it. Either way, if you set it at a reasonable price, it will sell. So if we're talking in between the range of about 4.5 to about 6 million, you can see someone may or may not have just purchased those for like 4.5 and then listed them for like 6 and 6.2, as you see. And you can see they're sitting roughly around 5.8 right now, and I'm sure it will be somewhat in that range. Now, it's quite fluctuating in terms of pricing, but that means that we can essentially work out how much we're going to spend on doing the barter trade, which is a Jaeger level barter trade, and of course someone just follows, but yep, thank you very much to Plopop for following. But of course we've got the paracords. Now this requires 12 of them, and you might be thinking, okay, 12 paracords, but they're sat at only 40k to 50k right now. So even if we were to look at it in like worst case, paying like 60k per one, you're sat about 720,000 rubles in order to purchase all of the paracords, which, you know, quite expensive. But when you're selling a sick case for 4.5 million to 6 million, depending on when you sell it, yeah, it's not too bad. And of course we're going to go ahead and buy up some of these. Sometimes you'll pay extra, sometimes you'll pay lower, depending on when you see this video. Maybe it's not worth it. You have to kind of price it up just roughly when you do decide to actually do this. But you can see we've now got our 12 paracords required for us to actually go ahead and do the sick case barter. Then we've got ourselves some duct tape. This is sitting around 40 to 50k. Similar sort of story. We need 15 of them. We've already got 8 of them. So if we mark it up about 15 lots of 50k. You're sat around 750k for that. So combine that with the other one, but let's call it 1.5 million for that. And then of course we've got some tape as well, which is going to be a similar sort of story, sat at around 68k, not too bad. And then we've got some nails as well, which unfortunately at the moment are basically non-existent. But don't worry, because it doesn't take too long to get them, and obviously depending on peak times and stuff like that, it will be far greater, like the actual supply. But we're going to buy up a load of these. I think we need like 7 of them. So usually I'll just pick like one that has a ton, because we know we're going to make money. But if you are wanting to maximize, you just buy the cheapest ones on the market and then buy all of them. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So that should be all of our tapes. And then we'll buy up all of the insulating tapes, hopefully. Salewers. This is the one annoyance, I guess, of doing this. And then we'll buy up as many of those as we can. And we should be at 8. So we need another 7, I think. So if we grab these, not all of them. And then we bought those up. Obviously, if you're doing this min-maxing wise, it'll be a lot better. And then we'll pick up 7 of those and then pick those up. And so now we've got all of the nails, we've got all of the tape, we've got the duct tape, and we got the paracord. We'll click the deal button. So we spent about 3 million, something like that, on actually doing that. And you can see that some of them have sold for like 5.9. There was one up for 5.9. Some of them are at like 6 mil. And I'm sure that these will actually sell. So we're going to put it slap bang in the middle. And then we'll move on to some of the other things that I do to make money whilst this is going to sell. We're paying 380k on the tax, or the commission. We do have the Intel Center, which reduces level 3, that reduces the fleet commission by 30%, and it's increased by the bonuses as well, so that will bring it even further down. But that means that we take off 380k off of whatever the cost of the items actually is versus the price of the actual sit case. So we will make multiple millions from selling this sit case, and we'll list that one up for 5.9. This means it's actually the cheapest on the market, as the cheaper one sold. So now all we have to do is wait for that to sell. I am almost guaranteed that it will. We also overbought on some paracords, but not a problem. We'll use it when the trader refreshes again. Jaeger's trader refreshes about every hour and a half to 2 hours, something like that. So, of course, you can do this multiple times a day if you're playing, and even if you're like playing other games and you just like, oh, maybe I'll jump on for 5 minutes, do all of my barters, and then jump off again. It really is that simple. You don't have to spend the whole time playing the game, obviously. Right. So once we've done that, another good thing to do is the Dorms Marked Room Key. Now, you might be thinking, why would I ever do the Dorms Marked Room Key? Well, that's because you can open up all of the RBPKPM, RBBK, and the RBVO Marked Room Key, and then trade it in for a Dorms 314 Marked Room Key. So the good thing about this is that you can open these so that they're 1 out of 10 uses, which means that if you then go ahead and trade them all in, you sum up the total cost of what you would spend actually buying all of these keys. So right now they are probably quite cheap, 4.8 million. You've got this one, so that's it, 7 million, so that'll be 11 million, and then you've got, about 10 million, so 21 million is what you'd spend on the keys. But of course you get all of the uses of those keys, and then you trade it in for a Dorms Marked Room Key. So say 21 million, plus you're going to get all of the loot from those rooms, and then you get a Dorms Marked Room Key, which at this moment in time, the cheapest on the market is 15 million. So you essentially spend 6 million on purchasing all of those keys and opening every single one of them until they're 1 out of 10 uses. But what's great about these rooms is some of them do have key cards, and of course in the current way in which you can play the game, you can Alt F4 and guarantee what you want on the PVE game mode. But of course that means that you then get a Dorms Marked Room Key that you can use, and what people often do is open up until it's 1 out of 10 and sell the Dorms Marked Room Key for 6.4 million. That's because it's required for a quest that you have to do in order to get Kappa, which means the 1 out of 10 uses actually sell for 6.5 million, which means then you've essentially paid 9 million for 10 uses of, or 9 uses of the Dorms Marked Room Key. Of course, you can either sell the key at face value for whatever it requires, the cost, and that actually looked like it might have been a relatively cheap dorms key, but you can see here 10 out of 10 uses 17.7 million. So either way, it's a very, very efficient way of actually using the marked room keys. And if you're doing the reserve raids anyway, a lot of the time, if you're doing tasks on reserve, you'll be doing or going through all of those areas anyway. So you might as well open up the keys and then trade them in for more money, and also get all of the loot from the room itself. You can get red flares, you can get key cards in there, you can get weapons that you can't obtain anywhere else, or at least you can't easily obtain anywhere else. So you can kind of guarantee that you'll get some of them, especially if you haven't unlocked the barter trades to actually pick those up, spears, this sort of thing, and they're also worth quite a bit of money. So you can average probably like 500k in a marked room. So even if you lose money on every single room, when you trade it in, you are essentially still making money because it nullifies the cost. You're not really spending anything on opening up those keys, as it's almost a 1-for-1, just flat out buying a 10 out of 10 use key and trading them in. So by opening up 9 times, you're going to make up that cost between a 10 out of 10, trading all 3 of those in for a dorm's marked room key. And so anything that you get in the room is just free loot, essentially. Kind of, I mean, up to a point where maybe like it costs you 2 million to open them up, but you'll make that 2 million out of all of the 3 keys 9 times, guaranteed. So that means it's just an extra bit of money that you can make every time you do reserve. There's a lot of tasks on reserve, so basically every time you go through and play reserve, just have the marked room keys, open them up if you go near the marked room, and that way you can just keep farming out those keys and make a ton of money. Now, there is, of course, a couple of other things that I do every single time I play on the game. For those of you that do have, for example, the level 6 fence rep, there are a few things that you can do, which is essentially opening up the fence rep 6 scav rep kind of store. This does refresh. It will come up with brand new stuff. A great way of kind of using this is to essentially buy up the keys that are in the fence rep store. Now, in order to get 6 fence rep, it's really not too difficult. It's especially if you've played a lot, and as you go through, you'll play a lot. So in the future, if you haven't already got it, by doing the car extracts and then probably about 100 scav raids roughly in total will get you to 6 for scav rep, as well as if you then actually manage to do the car co-op extracts, which is another great way of doing it, and you can do it on PVE. All you have to do is basically stun scavs and they just wander around near the extracts. Interchange is a very good one to do. You can do it on Lighthouse as well, and they just follow you into the room, and then you just have to kind of avoid them killing you within that room, and you get scav rep for free. Really, really simple way of doing it, and can obviously get you to 6 scav rep much faster and avoid you having to do so many raids. Obviously with fence, it is quite a high requirement. Not everyone is going to have it, but it's there for those of you wondering. So what you want to do is just make sure that you've got the key filter on, and then keep refreshing the store, and eventually when it does actually refresh, it will populate with a load of brand new keys. These can include marked room keys as well, for those of you wondering. If we go over here, you can see this is the stock or inventory in the actual fence at the moment. It does change, it will vary, and of course people have been buying it up. It's a shared loot between everyone that has 6 scav rep, and stuff buys almost instantly when it does get available, things that are worth quite a lot of money. And because Fence essentially sells them for like 1.5 times the price at which you can discard stuff for, marked room keys are about 900k to buy from Fence, because they sell to therapists, for example, for about 600k, so it's about 1.5 times. But 10 out of 10 marked room keys, as you saw, go for about anywhere from like 7 million to 20 million, depending on which one you get. So it's a really, really good way of basically every time that you're kind of eating food or you're going and you're not really wanting to pay full attention, you just come over to the fence rep, go on the store and just do a little refresh of his store every so often. And eventually you will find that it refreshes and you'll see a load of keys and hopefully you get a bit of money. from doing that. And the amount of times I've got just like ultra medical keys, random keys, terror group keys, that sort of stuff, which go for like 1 million, check 15 key, this sort of stuff, it does come up quite often, and you can sell it for a ton of money. And that is what I've been doing occasionally. You also have the barter trades for example, the money case, which you can get from Therapist. I'm just hoping we can actually get a refresh so I can show you. I'll probably just pause the video until we find one, and then, or get the refresh so you can, there we go, literally straight away. We got the RBKRL, we got this one. We just buy all of the keys because I don't know exactly which ones are worth the money, but every single one is going to give you some money back, and you're especially on the lower end, they really aren't too expensive to actually buy. So if you lose 10k buying them, it really isn't an issue. And you can see there RBKRL, which we probably paid about 10k for, but it goes for 70. You got this dorms key. I mean, you make a little bit of money off of it, but at the end of the day, you're just basically buying up these keys when they do come on refresh. You can also get yourself a variety of different armors which spawn in here, and some of them are actually quite good. They come with level 6 plates, some of them, and of course you get weapons, this sort of stuff as well, and a variety of stims, this sort of stuff. So you can find stuff that is worth a bit of money, like bomber beanies. You can make a couple of K on them, but it's not too big. But yeah, it's a way of making a bit of extra money when you haven't got anything else to do, or you just simply just want to play the game, or not want to play the game but just play on the menus. Then we've got, of course, as I said earlier, the money case. This is literally so much money, 1.5 million for a money's case, and it requires gold chains. It needs 5 of those. It requires 2 Rolexes, which are about 100k, plus 2 skulls, which are about 120k, and then the gold chains like 150k. So you're spending about 350k, and you're selling it for 1.5 million. Take away the tax, you're probably making about 800k every single time, which is what we're going to do because Therapist is available, and we'll just purchase even more than we need to because it doesn't matter. I'm going to use those for this barter when it does come available again. So there you go. We've got our money case. List that one up for 1.5 million. It will sell. We'll list it for 145 just so that it does sell pretty quickly and we can get over that 1 billion mark. Then we will go over to Prapor. Prapor has a few guns that are worth doing and trading in for. You can take the attachments off, that sort of stuff. You can also do that with Peacekeeper. You can do it with Mechanic. They all have weapons that are worth just barter trading for, and then stripping them down, selling off the attachments on them that are worth a bit of money, and then essentially kind of just leaving. You can see here the grenade launcher right there. I don't know if you can buy it off the flea, apparently not, but everyone can. So yeah, there's just tons of weapons that you can purchase off of various different traders that are kitted out. So take, for example, this MDR, depending on what requires, you know, you can do that. If we go to Mechanic, for example, come down there, I know that there are a few ones that are worth doing. So this SOP mod variant, it is essentially requiring 2 pro kills, which is about 100k, and the weapon itself sells for 110k. The sight sells for a little bit more than that, and of course the suppressor, this sort of stuff does sell. So it's worth stripping down some of the components, and you make about 100k every time. There's a load of different weapons that are exactly the same. Maybe you pick up an RPD, which isn't too expensive. It's about, I think, like 70k to actually get. So I mean, if you have the barter trade, go ahead and do it. And yeah, that is essentially what you can do. You also have weapons case barters, so for the motors, and the weapons case is about 3.9 million, but the actual motors themselves, oh god, they are very expensive right now. Okay, maybe not worth actually doing that, but they used to be about 100k not that long ago, so they'll probably come down in price and it'll become viable again. And then you also have things like Ragman. If you've leveled up Ragman, you can use this for the Bastion plate, which is about 250k, and the eggs are 40k, so worth every time actually doing those. And we'll just pick up 2 eggs right now, and we can list that one up, and we sell that for 260k is what we'll list it for. So there we go, and that's one down. And then he has various different rigs that you can buy as well. Some of the backpacks also go for more. Primarily when you're looking through traders and items, you want to be finding stuff that requires, for example, barter trades, where the armor and stuff like that is just worth more. And if you find enough of them, it's just free money at that point. And you can just do that every single time that traders do reset. And it really isn't too bad. You can also do trades, things like pistol cases, depending on the price of them. It requires 5. If they cost, 300, 400k, what you can do is trade those in. There's also barter trades for the actual cases, so you can do that, and it's really cheap to actually do, requiring only meds and syringes, which aren't too expensive. So you can do that, which is cheaper than buying a pistol case. Trade them all in, and then you need some actual expeditionary full tanks, so you can make about a couple 100k, 300, 400, up to 1 million, depending on the price of the weapons case itself. So we didn't actually end up selling our sick items case for 5.9. They ended up just getting mass listed at the same time, which is fine because we've still made money on actually getting it. We'll just list it up for much cheaper than the previous one, and hopefully it sells. There we go. It did instantly sell, which is great, and we'll receive all of that. And then we'll go ahead and look over overall, and we are about 400k, just short of the total 1 billion. And if we go ahead and do a little extra bit of faffing around, well, I'm sure we'll be able to get it over 1 billion in just a second. So in order to do that, we are going to do the ophthalmoscope barter, which is their anywhere between 50 to 70k roughly for ophthalmoscopes. You need 10 of them, that's 700k, and then 25 meds. Meds are about 30 to 40k right now, so that's about 1 million, so call it 1.5, 1.6 million to actually get the items case. And the items case itself, if we were to look at rubles, which is on the second page, 2.7 million. So we can make about 1 million off of that quite easily. So I'll just buy up the last remaining ophthalmoscopes. So 1, 2, 3. Hopefully that is everything. Should now be. I think there we go. And we need 24 meds. So we'll just buy all of these. And of course we need to do this right at that worst moment. Let's pick up all 5. And then let's purchase 10. And then do that. And that should get us there. Let's grab the items case. We will then list it up. If we go to second page, to 2.99 million, let's list it to 2850. And that hopefully will sell pretty quickly. Fingers crossed. I will join you back when it does actually sell. So it finally did actually sell. It literally took about 30 seconds from when I stopped talking to you last. And there we go. We have now managed to get over 1 billion. We're up to 1 billion and 500k roughly. So not a bad one. Of course, that is the 1 billion grind actually done. That was my goal. Maybe we'll go for 2 billion, or maybe we'll try and start a completely fresh account and see how far we can get with a zero account build in the latest kind of money making methods and that sort of stuff at the same time. So if you're interested in that, make sure to let me know and maybe we'll do that. Of course, this was primarily a kind of menu themed video talking about some of the ways I've made money and getting to 1 billion rubles itself. But there is, of course, some really, really good ways of doing it in the actual raids, which I will link on screen right now to a playlist going through a ton of loot runs that you can do on Escape from Tarkov PVE, which are just super profitable and really worth doing. So go check those out if you want some in-game tips as to making some rubles, which I used in order to get up to the 1 billion. But thank you very much for watching. Subscribe for more Tarkov, and I will see you there. Goodbye.